Next up are the dancing ladies, my cherry trio. I think this branch died off. So I'm going to prune it as if it's alive, and once I'm certain it's not in the spring, then I'll decide what to do about it. Maybe a gin in that direction. But the leaves are coming off. There's some beautiful colors that happen sporadically and quickly. If the leaf doesn't fall off, I try not to force it, but just clearing out what does fall off helps me see the structure better. So this is the branch I think is dead. This branch is alive. Not 100% certain about this, but take that tip off and see where that wants to go. This, I think, is proceeding very well. I've got a branch here and a branch here, one down below. I mean, really, could I live with just that branch below and have this start bowing down? That would be very nice. Am I brave enough to do that? No. So I have a pruning stub. This was an earlier pruning right down here, and then I pruned it back a little further. I'm going to leave this one alone. Just take the pruning stub off. This inner leaf, which is growing in a weird place. Just let that one be. Okay, this back branch. And again, my intention for these is to find a better arrangement one day that accentuates the hips of these lovely dancing ladies. And I think I had that as the front, somewhere around there. But let's see what happens. Okay, this branch back here, I like the way this comes up. There is some taper to this branch. A little reverse taper there. But I think I just want to take the top off of this. Okay, this branch cut here. I have a bud right there. So I'm going to take the tip off of this. I'm going to leave that. So there's still some foliage left on this tree. This branch might be a goner. This tree. I like these lower branches. I'm not going to touch them. They have buds at the terminal ends. This one has a little branchette growing over here. So from the front, I like, if I take that off, these two will grow. Is this doing anything for me? No, but there's a bud down at the bottom that might someday. This is fine. This, I never liked this little almost right angle. And then this straight piece here. There's a lot of vigor in this tree. I could, there's a bud there, or a dormant area that looks like there could be a bud there. So do I want to be brave? I know I don't like this. I could cut it to here. And I think I will. That leaves this back branch here, which I think, like this one, will have two extensions on it. One here, one, or possibly two. Oh, that's a pruning stub. All right, that's pretty severe for that tree. So this is now an asymmetrical triangle. A branch here and a branch here, making all of this top redundant. That's coming off. Something tells me to take this off. I'll take it to there. There is a bud down below. What I didn't like was the straightness or the uniform thickness or even reverse taper that's happening right there. I'll leave these back ones. They're in a good spot. This I'm going to take to here. There's a bud here, and a good possibility of a branch there and there. This one, I don't see any buds, except for at the end, but I'm cutting the end off. And I think that's it for my cherry trio. Let's go back to the supposed front. So is it tall, taller, tallest, or is it tallest in the back and these two in the foreground? I don't know. Let's see what develops here. This may want to be a higher apex than this. All right, my next tree. This is my mother-daughter Taringo crabapple, a tree given to me by Ralph in my bonsai club. My bonsai club is the Eastern Suffolk Bonsai Society. So if you live on Long Island in Suffolk County, that's your club. Come join. All right, so this tree is a true mother-daughter. I had a trunk grow, or Ralph had a trunk grow right up next to the other trunk off of a piece of root. It's got some interesting legs here that maybe I can mess with in the future. It is in a triagami pot. Once again, the roots, when they come through, they air dry. But this is helping develop roots for this very young bonsai. So I want to look at this from a structural standpoint. So I think this is the front. This branch is starting to cross the composition. But I've had some people comment, this looks like mom's reaching out to a petulant daughter who's running off. That's not my Luca, that is Allie. Allie's barking at me, even though Allie can't see me. Luca likes to taunt Allie through the fence. It's a chain link fence over there, so taunting can happen. So what do I want to do here? I have a pruning stub. I am going to leave this but shorten it back. I've done that a couple of times already. But there's some growth at the top here. Let's see what happens. This branch I'm going to let develop the way it is. This one I'm going to cut back to a bud underneath. It's already been cut back here, here, and here, and here. But it seems to just extend. So how far do I want mom reaching back? Now something tells me to cut this back to here. And I cut it back to there before. This is a tough decision for me. I'm going to cut it to here. All three of these are kind of reaching in the same general direction. Well, this one goes that way, this one goes this way, this one goes this way, kind of like that. I don't know. Come on, tree, surprise me. Is it too tall? If this were gone altogether, what would this tree look like? I could do the bag trick, but I don't have a bag. I have a poop bag. Nah, it won't work. That's not bad. Do I dare? Makes mom really short though. How about there? That's got me intrigued. But I'm going to do this. I apologize for Allie. Okay, this isn't bad right here. So I now have a rounded apex. And do I want to limit the reach of Mom over here? That's a nice bud at the end. I don't see anything quite that nice. So no, I'm not going to limit Mom's reach. I am going to limit daughter's reach. And she's kind of flailing. She's not reaching anywhere. She's just flailing. Could have her running off in this direction and eliminate this branch altogether. There is a lot of vigor going in this direction. And if I'm simplifying this, there is a bud on top here. Why don't I shorten this and see if anything develops from this point here. All right, let's see what the composition looks like now. Is there anything growing up on the bottom I want to pull away? No. Can't say this has the nicest root base, but it's interesting. And maybe I can raise it up even further. Maybe do something with it on a rock or something. But roots are developing nicely in a triagami pot. Another plus in the triagami review column. And let's see what happens in the spring to this little tree, this little vignette, mother-daughter. Yeah, I like that. All right, here's my nightshade vine. And I must say, I barely looked at it this season at all. Just let it grow, hoped it would thicken up. Then I heard that message from Nigel Saunders, which said, if you don't cut back your vines, they just grow along. No taper, they just grow along. I'm just trying to pull out a weed, very unsuccessfully. There's a weed, not a sucker. This does throw up suckers too. But the rootstock, is healthy. The tree is healthy. It's just not much of a bonsai. So what do? Cut off this part. Starting slowly. And I'm going to cut up to all bifurcations. I'm going to cut this one way back. And I think that's dead. That is dead. Cut it off. Having done that, I've got nothing dividing until way up here. I want to thicken this up, don't I? So we're going to start from scratch with this. And I will get it in a better pot at some point. Not bad for a weed. We're starting from scratch. Actually, to start from scratch and to eliminate all of the reverse taper that happened right here, I should cut it back all the way, shouldn't I? But I won't. All right, last up is my American hornbeam. All right, so here's my American hornbeam. It's got a nice S-curve to it. It's kind of a three-dimensional S-curve. I gave these bends to this tree in honor of Tony's Bonsai. He inspired me to do it and gave me the courage I needed to proceed with it. So I think I'm going to take advantage of the fact that it is losing its leaves, as you can see. Hasn't lost them all yet, and they haven't dropped. So I think I'm going to help that along, defoliate the tree in time lapse, and we'll go from there for the structural pruning. as I complete this exercise, I hope you can see the capability this tree has for very, very fine branching, which I'm very happy to see. They're kind of wild. That was it. The tree is fully defoliated. Oh, no, no, no. And here's a little teensy one right here. Let's look at this tree and evaluate. The branch was cut off there. I can get a little closer. Here's a pruning stub I can take off. There's another pruning stub. You know, I may forego some bifurcation for future plans. Like this is nicely tapered. It's kind of straight, but it's a nicely shaped branch with a lot of movement in it. It goes off in this direction. But I think if I take that off there, this is right at the end of that bend. And if I take this one back, take the pruning stub off there. I'm going to leave that there. That's a fresh pruning stub. I think I'm just going to take the tip off of that. And I've got a little branch thing happening back here. I don't know if you can see it. There's a nice bud there. There's a nice bud there. There's a pruning stub. And then this grew. There's another pruning stub. Do I want to get a little more drastic with that? Maybe have this start to develop nicely. I think I can safely go back to there with that branch. So that's got this lower branch fully pruned up. Moving up to this branch. Now I'm only doing one side of the tree right now. So maybe I should jump down to these ones that are even lower. And this one, it's not quite on the inside of a curve. So do I need it? I've got a lot happening on the outside of the curve here. So I don't think I need that. It's not quite a bar branch with this one. And if this is the front, I do like what's going on this side. Oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to stand back and look at that branch. I think I'm going to leave it and just shorten it selectively. There's a little branch that didn't develop down here. I'm just going to take right off. There's another one that wants to come out of the same place as this, but way down on the trunk. I'm going to stunt that. This divides here, so I can remove the thicker section for taper, or let this one go. Goes up. I like what this does as a pad on this side of the tree. So I'm going to leave it. I'm just going to take this off here. I'm going to tighten this up here. And this is growing toward the inside of this grouping. I'm going to leave this end like this. So it divides down and goes to here, and this divides up and goes here. take this to here, remove this pruning stub here, turn this back to there, take off this pruning stub here. Okay, here, here, and here are pruned. This does reach a little far, doesn't it? I'm just going to take the end off. Going up the tree, this is my next branch. Here's a pruning stub. This goes up and around. Take the end off of that. Take the very tip off of that. This piece, there's a pruning stub here. I think I'm going to go into fast mode here. You've seen how I'm making my selections. All right, here is my American hornbeam, pruned up and ready to grow for spring. There's a couple of really good fronts. This isn't bad right here, and this isn't bad right here. I'm toying with the idea of cutting this whole top off here at some point. We'll see how this spreads out. But I like it. This can have some really fine branching someday. And let's see what it does next year. All right. Thanks so much for keeping me company in my backyard. I have a few more trees to structurally prune. My Rose of Sharon just dropped all its leaves and it's ready to be structurally pruned. And I'm just waiting for my hazel to either have the leaves discolor a little bit more or just completely drop off. We'll see how soon that happens. But this tree looks pretty good. And we'll say goodbye for this episode.